Nature has all kinds of weird developments where several species are in close competition. When resources are limited, it takes some standout skills to survive and grow. For a species of finch, the standout performance starts when they're hatched. But you would want your parents to notice you too if there was an imposter in your nest eating all of your food. But a bright smile can get you pretty far in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter at LD Taxonomy or visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons. Thank you to Tristan Taylor, Jesse Raspulich, and Carol Raspulich. Thank you for helping us keep the lights on. Your support is greatly appreciated.
And today we're talking about a Gouldian bird with a golden mouth. But more on that later.
Yes, it's a whoopee Gouldian. That should have been one of my nicknames. I've blanked on the nicknames. But Bibby helped. Hooray! But yes, we're talking about the Gouldian Finch.
Yeah.
Relative of Atticus Finch. But it is also called the Lady Gouldian Finch, the Gold's Finch, or the Rainbow Finch. This is all just what the general public tends to call it. But we're going to call it here the Baby Birdie Brightbeak and Rudolph. Because his beak blinks like a blinking beacon. Oh man, I practiced that and I still couldn't say it right the first time. I don't know how. That's a tongue twister. His beak blinks like a blinking bacon. Right. You care if I taxonomize this one? Just this one time.
Sure.
Okay. I promise I won't ask again. The kingdom is one you know, love, and are in. The kingdom is Animalia. Phylum is Chordata. Class, it's a bird. Let me hear you say it. I know you know it. It's Aves, and you knew it. The order is Passeriformes, the largest order of birds, which is also like crows and parrots and things like that. Oh wait, I know crows. Parrots I just made up, so maybe parrots are in there. But I know for sure that crows are Passeriformes, and so is the finch. The family is Estrilidae. The genus is Cloebia. And the species is Gouldiae. Cloebia Gouldiae. Because it's not too hot, not too cold. It's just right. It's Gouldiae. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show, critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and the question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal, or what is the term of entry, or what is the collective noun? It's all the same. If you saw a group of finches, what would you call it? And I love doing birds because bird lovers have gone out of their way to have just an exhaustive number of collective nouns for birds. Goodness. So, Joe, if you saw a group of finches, would you call it A, a trembling of finches, B, a conflagrance of finches, C, a crash of finches, or D, a dripping of finches?
I'm going to go with dripping, I guess. Final answer.
Incorrect. It's trembling.
Okay, not on my radar.
A trembling of finches. And Grammarly is telling me that conflagrance isn't a word, but okay. Whatever.
Is it not?
Conflagrant is a word, and conflagrate is a word.
It would be a word were it a term of venery.
Yeah.
Because you have to turn it into a noun.
It's so weird when they put like the gerund in there. Like it's a trembling of finches. Like, huh? They're not even known for their trembling. I don't think. Do you want to hear about what this thing looks like?
Sure.
I thought you did. So these are small, very colorful birds. They have that standard finch shape, like a kind of parakeet-esque, but with a sharp, stout beak. Not the curved beak that parakeets have, but it's kind of like the bird in A Bug's Life. I think that was a finch. So just imagine the Bug's Life bird. I recently saw Turning Red, and the whole time I was watching it, I was like, man, I remember when I liked Pixar. And I was thinking specifically of Bug's Life. So that's why it all...
Oh, it's not good?
All meshes together. It's okay. It's nothing special. Like I'm probably never gonna watch it again. It's not bad, and I'm sure, some people like it for good reasons, but yeah, I don't think it's worth watching. Just watch, I guess, Brave, if you want a decent mother-daughter story, and even that one's not that great. Anyway, finches look like the bird from A Bug's Life. So it has, like I said, short, sharp beak, a rounded head, puffed chest. In the wild, males have white and reddish beaks. They have black heads with bright blue edges around their heads, and bright green backs and wings, purple chests, and yellow bellies. So this is like a patchwork quilt of colors.
A very colorful bird.
Very, very colorful. And then there are some variants that have bright red faces instead of black faces. Although they do still, the ones with red faces still have black necks. Females have similar coloration, but they're not as vibrant. They have duller tones because, like most birds, it's all about sexual selection on the male's side. So they need to be bright and colorful to attract the female. Juveniles start off as this kind of drab brownish green, and they gradually develop their colors as they reach sexual maturity and get old enough. In captivity, people have been able to breed certain colorations, specifically in the face and chest area. But this is one of those rare, true purple animals. Not like that little pump fake that the Malabar giant squirrel gave us.
Yeah.
This is a purple animal, and it's cool.
Before we get too far from its name,
okay.
It's Gouldian and is named after. Well, it was first described by Jonathan Gould, who's a bird painter, animal painter. And you've probably seen, anyone who's like very interested in animals have probably seen some of his paintings. If you look them up, they're very recognizable. But anyway, he wanted to name, he said it was the most beautiful bird he's ever seen. So he wanted to like honor his late wife. So he named it Gould. Her name's Gould, because I gave her my name. So I'm gonna honor her by giving it her name, which was my name, which I gave to her. How does that make any sense?
That does not make sense.
It should be called the Elizabeth bird.
Yeah.
The Elizabethan Finch.
But so, yeah, he was really just trying to, like his knee-jerk reaction was to honor himself. But then when he realized that was a kind of a jerk move, he's like, oh, no, it's my wife. Her name is Gould too, right? So, yeah.
I'm sure he probably, he couldn't remember her maiden name. So he's just like, what's her name? Gould, right? That's it.
Yeah, whatever. Elizabethan Finch would have worked, I think.
But then that would make you think about the, era that they were in at the time. So.
That's fine. He named it after Elizabeth. It's better than Pink Floydy.
True.
Well, I said this was a small bird. Finches tend to be small, but how small are they, Joe?
An excellent question.
I know. I thought of it myself.
Welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying, singing, or tweeting the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro this week, but that means we get to hear from an animal, and Carlos has to guess what it is.
If only you could tweet sound bites. Can you do that?
You can, yeah.
Okay, tweet it to us.
I'm sure you could figure out a way. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. Is that A, Boston Terrier, B, a barking owl, C, a gray fox, or D, a cockatoo?
Huh. A barking owl.
It's a type of owl. It really is. Also called, I think, a whistling owl or something.
I think in Futurama they have barking snakes. It just reminds me of that. I'm going to go with the cockatoo. Just, it's thematically appropriate. Cockatoos make weird sounds. That sounded kind of like a weird dog. So it's probably either Boston Terrier or cockatoo. And I feel like cockatoo's the right answer. That's what my heart of hearts is telling me.
Barking owl or winking owl?
That sounds like a pub.
It does.
The winking owl.
Cockatoo, final answer.
Yes.
That is correct.
Gosh.
That's pretty good. Pretty good impression.
Cockatoos are crazy. Did I ever tell you? I don't know if I ever mentioned it on this show. But I was with our mutual friend, Andrew, to buy to buy a bike. He wanted to buy a mountain bike. So I went with him to this little shop in Coral Springs. And the owner of the shop had a cockatoo in a cage behind the counter that was constantly saying hello, and it sounded really it sounded like there was a woman behind the counter saying hello to everybody. It was remarkable. But Andrew sat on the bike he wanted to check out, and he was testing the handlebars. And the owner got on the other side of the handlebars, so the bike was facing him. And the owner was like, yeah, test the shocks. So he pushed down on the handlebars, and Andrew kind of went forward, and they bonked heads. And the cockatoo started laughing. It was like, ha, 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 ha. And without missing a beat, the owner turns around and points at the bird and goes, "Shut up, bird." And he's holding his head. He's like, "Shut up, bird." And it was a beautiful comedic moment that is forever enshrined in my consciousness. So Andrew, I know you listen to these. that's one of the funniest things that I've ever seen in real life. So,
A lot of people,
involved a cockatoo.
a lot of people yell at birds. A lot of people I know yell at their birds.
That's because they're loud, and they live for like a million years.
Yeah, birds are obnoxious to own. I mean, you may not agree. There's a lot of pet people out there, but birds are usually obnoxious, and that's what you get for taking an animal with the power of flight and bringing it indoors.
And like an animal that's not really known for listening to the average person like a dog is. Like it's just there. It takes a very skilled person to train
Yeah.
A bird to do things.
Their mannerisms are almost as alien to us as like a reptile or a fish.
Yeah, they're really weird. I mean, I like birds. I would never own one. It's just too. They're not cuddly enough. Like if I'm gonna own an animal, I need to cuddle it. It needs to be furry and soft and needs to love me. And I feel like birds just don't do any of those things.
At least like most farm animals and dogs want to be there. Like
A bird is looking for literally any excuse to leave, and it will instantly. But you actually have to maim it to stop it from leaving.
Yeah, if
You
you
have to clip its wings.
I'm not like a psychologist, but if you have to maim something to keep it around, maybe don't keep it around.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't want to be there. It's like, oh, I have this dog, but it can't have legs. It's gonna run away. It's like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have dogs then. Maybe you're not a dog person. Anyway, I can see the appeal. Birds are really intelligent. They are interesting. Some of them can talk and bark like dogs and laugh at you if you bang your head against a customer. So if that's your cup of tea, I don't wanna yoke your yak.
I think
But
I would
it's not my cup of tea.
I would only my only exception to that is probably animal husbandry of any kind, like pigeons that you raise, because at least all of those, like, you're raising it to do the thing it's supposed to do. Like pigeons fly great distances.
Is it really a pet at that point?
I mean, you keep it. It's like a pet, like a farm animal is a pet.
Yeah, not really a pet.
Falconry. Like it gets to hunt,
I think the definition of a pet is it doesn't really do anything for you except companionship, like a companion animal.
Yeah.
I guess that's not true because like sheepdogs, I'd call them pets, and yet they do work on the ranch. But yeah, I wouldn't say livestock are pets. And if you keep pigeons for pigeon purposes, then I feel like that's more like livestock, like chickens and stuff.
Yeah, animal husbandry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what a
common
tangent.
animal's husband.
No.
Oh, is that
no?
different?
Don't.
Oh, are we supposed to be doing measure up? Let's do that. Let's talk length. They're between 125 to 140 millimeters. That's 5.5 inches. How many Gouldian finches go into the thickness of Saturn's rings?
Another astronomical comparison.
Yeah. So here's a hint. The rings in total are about 175,000 miles or 282,000 kilometers in diameter. And they're about 35,628 miles wide. But how thick are they?
That is not as big as I thought that they would be. Because Saturn's a lot bigger than Earth. And those rings go all the way around.
Yeah.
Well, I flew there in my ship in Destiny one time. That's about my only experience with Saturn. I don't know. Let's say
Just to give you a ballpark, so like the thickness, not the thickness, the width of the rings is like 4.5 Earth diameters. The diameter of Earth is 7,917 miles.
So puny. Little blue dot, pale blue dot. All right, I'm gonna say 1,000 miles. Yes. 1,000 miles.
Now we're talking top to bottom thickness.
Yeah. Still going with it. Uh, 11.5 million Finches.
Final
to
answer?
the thickness of Saturn's rings. Yep.
The correct answer is 69,818.
What?
The
Those are some thin rings.
Yeah, they are
I don't
only
even see them.
about a kilometer or 32,000 feet.
Wow.
If you made a model of Saturn that was scale accurate, and the ring diameter was about a yardstick, 3 feet, then the width of the ring would have to be many, many, many times thinner than a razor.
Yeah, you can't. Just a standard piece of construction paper isn't going to work.
No.
It's too thick.
Too thick indeed. What would you need?
More
You'd
like
need-
1,000 miles.
What's thinner than a razor?
That's crazy.
Yeah, large print Bible paper.
Oh, that gold.
Yeah,
leaf.
yeah. Like where it's super
Probably thinner
thin.
than that. Yeah, goodness. I always thought that it was just like once you got close, it was big, like asteroids.
It is. Well, they're a
But
couple.
like big asteroids, like. But I guess like if it was 1,000 miles,
Some of them are relatively small, and a lot of it is like this, just ice dust.
yeah. They're pretty though.
Oh yeah. Let's talk weight. The Finch, the Gouldian of the Gouldian variety, the Gouldian girl, is 0.42 ounces.
All right.
So how many Gouldian finches go into the lightest chair?
Like that you can sit on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
'Cause
Here's a hint: the hair.
I can draw a picture of a chair, and that's pretty light.
No, a drawing of a chair. Here's the hint: the chair was designed by Massimiliano della Monica in Italy and went through several durability tests and passed. The chair is a real chair that an adult can sit in, not a dollhouse chair.
They got some really, really light and strong industrial materials these days. Let's say that chair is 1 pound. And would you say 4 ounces?
0.4 ounces.
Oh boy.
About a half ounce.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, about a half ounce. So then I guess my answer would be, I'll round it up to 35. 35 Finches go into the weight of the world's lightest chair for adult humans.
Final answer.
Yes.
Correct answer is 51.8.
Oh, I was kind of close.
The chair is 0.617 kilometers, kilograms. It's made of whatever you'd need to make the model out of, the Saturn model. That's 1.36 pounds.
Oh, I assumed it would be just 1 pound.
Pretty close.
But that's a light chair. I could definitely pick that up. Many times.
That'd be good to like strap to your backpack when you're going around
Disney
World. Yeah.
They have I've seen people with like these pogo stick looking things that they strap to their backpacks, and then when they're standing in line, you just put them on the ground and sit on them. And they're like, I don't know, they look pretty light and thin. I thought about it just because most of what you'll be doing if you go to Disney or Universal is standing in line.
True.
For the new Velociraptor roller coaster. Anyway.
Yeah, like anything like kind of like a cane with like almost like a bicycle seat shape.
Yeah, it's got this T-shape seat at the top, so it still like doesn't take up a lot of room. Like if it was a whole bicycle seat, like a unicycle, then that would be a little bit cumbersome. But it looked like it worked. Like literally anything is better than almost anything's better than standing.
But it's just a one peg thing, one peg system. Yeah. Man, though, if you're a 14-year-old boy in a group of 14-year-old boys,
oh man,
there's no way you're not kicking that out from under people.
Yep. And getting kicked out of the park.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking like a bunch of 14-year-old boys getting those and using them, but then kicking them out from underneath each other.
Yeah, I thought you were picturing them going around kicking them out of.
It takes a special kind of hoodlum to do that. And yeah, I'm sure you could. I'm sure there are people that would do that. But you would definitely do it to your friends. It would tempt the kindest sort.
There's a lot of static friction from like your body resting on this thing. So, and it's got like a rubber bottom, so it like grips pretty well. So you'd have to kick it pretty darn hard. You may not be successful depending on how heavy the person is.
Where there's a will. But that's all I got for that. You got any fast facts?
And that all wraps in because the first time I saw that was at the Pirates of the Caribbean ride featuring Will Turner. Actually, he's not in it, but...
And peg legs.
And peg legs. Anyway, yes, I do have some fast facts. The Gouldian Finch lives in a few scattered regions in northern Australia. We're back to Australia. And it mainly eats seeds, like most finches. They have to eat over a third of their body weight in seeds every day. And they mainly eat the seeds of grass, different kinds of grasses that they find on the ground. And they are near threatened, so their population is decreasing. People are they're pretty birds, so people are trapping them, and so their populations are decreasing in the wild.
Yeah, Australia, they're big time pet birds, but they're no longer allowed to be exported from Australia, but they had already been. So now there's like even wild populations around the world.
Yeah, they seem like birds that could probably survive in lots of different places. I'm surprised we don't have them in Florida. We have everything in Florida. Because people don't like to take care of their pets.
No.
And that's all I got.
Okie dokie. Let's get into the major fact, which I'm calling Golden Mouth. I guess, because I just came up with that now, because I forgot to name it. But...
That's my favorite James Bond villain.
It sounds like a James Bond villain, yeah. The hatchlings of Gouldian finches have bright, shiny markings on the sides of their mouths that make them look strangely alien. Like if you look up a picture of these hatchlings, you're like, where is their everything? And this is, what am I looking at?
This looks like an uncooked chicken with just shiny bobs on it.
Yeah. So the open mouth of the finch hatchlings are bespeckled with white, black, blue, and yellow dots. The bright blue and yellow dots on the sides of their mouths are particularly reflective, and they're like phosphorescent beads. So I saw like there are a couple species that have this, and I saw like people describing it in articles like phosphorescent, glow in the dark. Like people always like in the animal world, in their articles, in the animal journalism, will say they'll say something that like anything that's bright and shiny, it glows, or it glows in the dark, or it's phosphorescent. But it's a description of color, not like something incredibly unique, which is something that actually glows in the dark in nature.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about. But they've been described as phosphorescent. So, the very least, they're shiny and reflective, which is interesting for a bird. So, why do they have these strange markings? We aren't totally sure. But the prevailing theory is that they developed these markings to compete with brood parasites. So, we've talked about this before.
I think we did the cuckoo bird.
Yeah. A brood parasite is a bird that lays its eggs in the nest of another bird so that their egg becomes a drain on another bird's resources rather than their own. They don't have to take care of their chick, and somebody else gets to raise their chick. They get to further their lineage without doing any of the parental work. Many finches in the Astrilidae family have similar mouths and similar mouth markings. So developing a unique pattern and reflective quality makes their imposters stand out.
Or blend in. The mother just like, okay, I just see a bunch of glowing beaks, and I'll feed those, and I don't even see anything else. And the brood parasite's like, well, what about me? And no, doesn't get fed.
No. Yeah, so it makes the imposter stand out because it's different than the rest.
Yeah, that's sure.
So it may be but it might be an arms race where the parasites are adapting to become more like the host species, but the host species is getting weirder and more intense with their colors. Just kind of like how we talked about. Was it a mouse and a scorpion, or something like that, where the scorpion or a snake, something like is developing a more deadlier and deadlier toxin, and the other thing is developing better and better defenses against it.
Is it the mongoose and the cobra?
No, it was like something smaller. But many finches so there's another theory. Another theory is that the Gouldian finches started with these markings before brood parasitism, and the parasites had to adapt to look like them. But that still leaves the question of why they developed phosphorescent markings to begin with. So according to the second theory, the birds have developed these markings to tell the development and health of the chicks. So young chicks have pale markings that grow brighter with age, and then eventually, once they're like fledglings, ready to leave the nest, they become much less noticeable. They fade. So as you can see that like bell curve of like color intensity, the parents can tell, oh, this is how they're developing. This is how they're developing compared to one another. If they're not getting brighter, then maybe they're unhealthy, something like that.
So this is Timmy. His mouth flaps aren't as shiny as Sarah's.
Yeah.
So we need to feed Timmy more seeds. We need to throw up in his mouth more.
Or less. A 2005 study found out what happens when the markings are painted over. The chicks that had their markings covered were fed less and grew smaller. But
I guess because if they fade away, that means they're getting older and more mature.
At a certain level. But if they don't develop at all, if they don't get brighter from hatchling stage to like their mid-development stage, then they might be unhealthy. So the parents were less likely to fed them less often. But the study didn't find that it affected their survivability. They would grow smaller, but they would survive. But maybe if resources were scarce, the parents would prioritize the healthy-looking ones first. So they're not going to waste resources on something that's not going to survive anyway. But when resources are good enough, they'll feed the one that is unhealthy. But there's another theory that's just in dark nests. Like if you want to like make your nest in a deep thicket and it's dark, these really shiny, reflective mouth markings help parents find the
mouths.
The mouths.
That was my first instinct when I saw this. I was like, oh, it's so that like they like make their nest in a tree or something, they can easily find the mouths. But then it's like, why doesn't every bird that makes a nest in that sometimes experiences nighttime to have this? So yeah, man, this picture of these the newly hatched chicks, it's disturbing because they've got these crazy looking beaks and just these lights. It's like KC lights coming out of their mouths. Although they're not actually lights. I
would love to know, like, is it just really shiny? Or is it glow in the dark like some people say? I'm inclined to believe that it's just reflective.
Like a runner's vest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess there are
a picture of it.
I guess there are some birds that develop feathers that are shiny and reflective. Like even like blackbirds, if they get close to you, you'll notice they have like blue and green shiny feathers.
But these seem like exceptionally shiny, exceptionally reflective, and it even lasts until they're juveniles. So you can see pictures of them with just these. They're a lot more reduced, but they still have these just shiny kind of crusties on the sides of their mouths. It's like you got a little bit of schmutz right there. You just want to wipe it off their face, but you can't because it's part of them. But yeah, the Wikipedia page calls them tubercles, and describe them as having an opalescent luster.
Yeah,
that is flowery for a Wikipedia page. So it should be called the Elizabethan finch.
Yeah, Elizabeth Gould. She was also an artist and illustrator.
Yeah, I was looking at the pictures that this guy made, and if you've ever seen an ornithology book, this is the guy. He is to bird drawings as what's his name?
Are you talking about the guy on all the T-shirts?
Guy Harvey.
Yeah.
Guy Harvey. There we go. Guy Harvey is to fish. If you've lived in South Florida for more than 10 seconds, you've seen somebody with a Guy Harvey shirt.
They give you one when you're born to grow into.
No, they give you one upon entry. As soon as you pass Stewart and get into the Palm Beach County, there's actually a toll, and that you don't have to pay anything there. They actually just hand you a Guy Harvey T-shirt and some flip-flops. It seems like they have
very similar styles, and some of their drawings and paintings or lithographs were attributed to both of them. They both so they worked on the same illustrations.
Oh, John and Elizabeth, not John Gould and Guy Harvey.
Yeah. John Gould and Guy Harvey. Yeah, across generations.
John and Guy. All right. Is that all you got?
That's all I got.
Same. So, that was the Gouldian Finch and its shiny baby mouths. So for you out there in Podcastia, stay colorful, feed your young, and be sure to maintain the opalescent luster of your tubercles like the Gouldian Finch here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
There are some people that say, like, oh, maybe she did all of it.
Oh,
But that happens whenever there is a couple in the 1800s or earlier, and they both are in the same field of work, everyone always says she did the work.
I'm inclined to believe it because he named it the Gouldian Finch.